welcome back to another exciting edition of the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast. And I am, again, the Common Constitutionalist. Now let's see what exciting topics we have on the docket today. It seems a terrorist was caught by the Libyan National Army. He was arrested recently. No big deal, right? Well, it kinda is. And TV handyman Mike Rowe, big fan of Mike Rowe, love that guy. He's got some voting tips for a fan of his I'll share with you. And the AK-47, venerable rifle of the terrorists and rebel set, famous throughout the world. They're opening up an AK-47 shop in the Moscow airport. What could possibly go wrong? Today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You're listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcast from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
All right, welcome back. And you know what I just noticed? It just dawned on me. This is the 100th episode of the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast. Hooray for me! Hooray for me, and hooray for you who have stuck in there and listened to me, and for all you people on YouTube and whatnot who listen to me in other places. I appreciate the love. Or hate, as the case may be, but 100 episodes. That's I don't know. I guess that's an accomplishment. So can I get a hip hip hooray? No, I guess not. How about a cheer from our studio audience? Yes, there you go. How about that? I guess I guess that'll have to do. Thank you, studio audience, full of crickets. All right, enough of that self-congratulatory fanfare. On to the subjects at hand. This comes to us from, I can't believe this. I think I've got 3 topics, and all of them have attribution. So maybe the 100th episode is it's a milestone. I'm turning over a new leaf and becoming more responsible in my attribution. But this one comes to us from Lisa Daftari from the Foreign Desk, of whom I subscribe to her newsletter, and she's got some pretty good stuff on foreign goings-on, mostly terrorism, Islamism, and things like that. So she reports that a senior Tunisian militant and Islamic State recruiter has been reportedly arrested in Libya, according to local media reports. They say reportedly because anything coming out of that region, you really never know if it's factual or not. No matter how many reports, no matter how much corroboration you can get on this stuff, it all could be a crock o' crap. But according to the reports, this guy... he was captured by the Libyan National Army, and these guys are supposed to be, we'll just say, the good guys. You know, it's kind of like the least of the worst, but we'll call them the good guys, the Libyan National Army. And maybe some of them or all of them are the good guys. I mean, it's their country. Maybe they actually do want to take it back. I don't know. But this guy's name, the Tunisian militant and Islamic State terrorist recruiter, here we go. I'm going to struggle through this sucker, boy. This one's a triple word score in Scrabble. For all you people under the age of 30, that's a board game that you get together with friends and family and play without the television on and or your smartphone or other electronic device. You interact with other humans. That's Scrabble. But I digress, as I quite often do. All right, so this guy's name, are we ready? It's Moaz bin Abdul Abdul Gader Ben Ahmed Fezani. Holy crap. He's 47 years old, and he's also known by his nom de guerre as Abu Nassim, which is that works for me. So old Abu was apparently caught fleeing from Libya to Tunisia, and he was captured, evidently, or apparently. And he was captured along with 20 other Islamic State fighters. And this guy's no newcomer to the terrorist gig, to the terrorist game. He's been around for a while. Actually, he's been around since kind of like the 80s. He evidently floated around Italy or thereabouts in the 80s. He disappeared in 1997. Big swath of time between the sightings, I guess. And they expected him in 97. He fled because Italian authorities suspected him of being involved in jihadi activities. He resurfaced in Pakistan and joined Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. He was arrested. Here's why this guy is kind of important. I mean, he's not important just because he's a dirtbag jihadi. There are lots of them out there. And sure, he's important because he's an ISIS recruiter now. But the real issue is the fact that in 2001, he was being held at Bagram detention facility, and then he was there and remained there under arrest and being detained at Bagram until 2009, when Obama decided to release him back to the Italians in 2009. He stood trial, and this guy's got count against him regarding terrorist activities and recruiting and all sorts of stuff, and he was still acquitted. I mean, he's got terrorist ties even to Bosnia and all sorts. He's been all over the place, and he was acquitted by the Italians. And then the acquittal was appealed in Italy, and then they retried him and sentenced him for in absentia. By the way, sentenced him to 6 years. But by that time he was already a goner, and evidently he went back to Tunisia, and then he joined Al Qaeda's Ansar al-Sharia. Yeah, okay, I can't speak today. And then he joined al-Nusra. So this dude has been around the block. And then in 2014, he pledged his allegiance to the ISIS caliphate to old Baghdadi there. And then he moved back to Libya to start a terror organization. And this wasn't just some chump terror cell that he was involved in. He was the leader of a special operations force in Libya. So I guess my point here is that the fact that this guy was being held by the United States, he was released by the Obama administration to the Italians. We never really followed up what was going to happen to him or anything. They acquitted him. Then they retried him, but he was already gone by that time. They just let him go, I guess. And we didn't have any recourse at that point. And it's the same thing with Baghdadi. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He was being held also by the United States, and he was deemed not to be a threat. And we let him go. Thanks again, Herr Obama. And now this goes back to the whole wanting to close Gitmo, wanting to close all these detention facilities throughout the United States and transfer them wherever. Originally, if you recall, we were all up in arms. Republicans, conservatives, Americans were all up in arms when originally Obama said he wanted to close Gitmo, and we just figured he was going to attempt to transfer all the Gitmo dirtbag jihadi prisoners to the United States and either try them here so they could have a nice public forum and spew their madness all over the place, or have a public forum to complain how poorly they were treated by the United States infidels, the soldiers at Gitmo, and nobody wanted that. But honestly, I don't think that we really thought that Obama was just going to wholesale just release these people to other countries, of which he's been doing. Look at whatever happened to remember the guys that were Bo Bergdahl, 5 upper echelon terrorists were released to Qatar for dirtbag Bo Bergdahl. Has anyone ever heard of what happened to those guys from Qatar? Qatar isn't our friends. Why did we release them there? It's just ridiculous. You know what's going to happen. Those guys are already back in the fight, or they're already doing something involving terrorists and probably involved in killing the United States or our allies. And I haven't heard word one about this. And it's the same with the rest of these. And now we find out that he's releasing this mass quantity. It's like 10 or 15 Gitmo prisoners. And he's hell-bent on closing Gitmo. And I think his plan is to give the entire base, including the detention facility, back to the Cubans and just walk away. Merry Christmas to the Castro brothers. But these guys are all ending up back on the battlefield or in senior positions, either in Al-Qaeda or some other affiliate or ISIS or whatever, and they're going to go wreak havoc back on American troops or American soil or our allies in Europe, and if they haven't already, and some have, obviously. And Obama doesn't seem to give a crap. All he wants is Gitmo closed because he wants Gitmo closed. That's it. And this is just another instance of a guy that we had and we let go, and here he is again. How many untold people has he been responsible, either directly or indirectly? The deaths, the killing, the maiming, the whatever, the terror, has this guy been responsible for since he's been floating around out there, since 2009 when he was released to the Italians, and then they let him go. If we don't maintain control over these people, that's what's going to happen. We give them over to countries, even allied countries, and they acquit them, they let them go, or they can't find them or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I've droned on enough about this topic. Let's take a break.
You're listening to the Common Constitution. Let the truth be known.
Okay, this next one comes to us from my buddies over at Western Journalism, another good site. I gotta stop doing that. But hey, what the heck? They report that television handyman Mike Rowe responded to a fan's letter calling on him to urge people to get out and vote by contending the more important issue is the type of person who makes it to the polls. As I said in the intro, I like me some Mike Rowe. I think my sons and I have seen probably every episode of Dirty Jobs there ever was. That was a great show. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. And it was hilarious, and he was masterful at it. He's actually a very, very intelligent guy. So the fan wrote, "Can you please encourage your huge following to go out and vote this election? I would never impose on you by asking you to advocate one politician over another, but I do feel this election could really use your help," asked the fan. Now, those who don't know Mike Rowe, and I don't know him personally, but I know the kind of guy he is, and he's been on conservative talk shows, so that may tell you something. He is no Hollywood liberal. Now, your average Hollywood liberal would respond like, yes, we must support Hillary, or you've got to get out and vote. Regardless of who you vote for, it's important. It's your right. It's your obligation to vote. Well, let's continue. Let's see what Mike Rowe had to say. He said, "I'm afraid I can't encourage millions of people whom I've never met to just run out and cast a ballot simply because they have the right to vote." Bully for Mike. Good job. He continued, telling everyone to vote, he says, would be like encouraging everyone to buy an AR-15 simply because they have the right to bear arms. I would need to know a few more things about them before offering that kind of encouragement. Okay, I wholeheartedly agree with that. For instance, do they know how to care for a weapon? Can they afford the cost of the weapon? Do they have a history of violence? Are they mentally stable? I don't know. In short, are they responsible citizens? And then he went on to add something that's very important. Does anyone actually believe that Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen DeGeneres, and Ed Norton would encourage the masses to vote if they believed the masses would elect Donald Trump? Very good point. Of course they wouldn't. They always say, it's your right to vote. You are obligated. You have to get out to rock the vote and do all this other stuff. You could be a complete and utter dribbling moron, but you need to go out and vote. And this I thought was quite substantive and quite important, and something that I haven't heard from many people, frankly, no celebrity, certainly. He says, regardless of their political agenda, my celebrity pals are fundamentally mistaken about our civic duty to vote. There is simply no such thing. Voting is a right, not a duty, and not a moral obligation. Like all rights, the right to vote comes with some responsibilities, but let's face it, the bar is not set very high. Very good. And he's exactly right. You have every right to vote, but there's no obligation to do so. You have the right to bear arms, but nobody's saying you're obliged to go out and buy an AR-15, and he's got a great point on that. He continued, when they tell us that everybody in the country should get out there and vote, which they always do, regardless of what they think or believe, I gotta wonder what they're smoking. And no, you don't really have to wonder what they're smoking. You could probably guess there, Mike. Probably the same thing the Obama daughter was caught smoking at one of her parties that she attended or something like that. Did you hear about that, by the way? That she got the party on the whitest of white, Martha's Vineyard. She got busted at a party. I don't think it was a frat party. I think it was just a frat type party on Martha's Vineyard. And everybody got busted, but she got escorted out by the Secret Service and escorted back to her parents. But I digress again. And the well-informed Mike Rowe, again, continued, none of the freedoms spelled out in our Constitution were put there so people could cast uninformed ballots out of some misplaced sense of civic duty brought on by a celebrity guilt trip. So no, I can't personally encourage everyone in the country to run out and vote. I wouldn't do it, even if I thought it would benefit my personal choice, of which I don't know what his personal choice is, but I could pretty much guess it ain't Hillary. He did have some advice for the fan, though. He said to spend a few hours every week studying American history, human nature, and economic theory. Start with economics in one lesson by Henry Hazlitt. He also recommended Keynes, the wonderful collectivist economist, Keynesian economist. Of course, he's Keynesian because it's Alfred Keynes, the inventor of the dopey government spend-all Keynes economic program. Conservative economist Frederick Hayek, which is fabulous, and also communist Karl Marx and Hegel. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant that he would recommend reading about the communists because no one ever describes them of that. We all say it is Marxism when somebody acts the way they do, and we throw out the word communist and Marxist all the time for to describe liberals because that's really who they are. And if you were to read some of the writings of Marx and Engels and Hegel, you would know that that's exactly the way they're acting. So bully for Mike Rowe for pointing that out. Well, not quite pointing it out, but people would get the message if they actually read this stuff. And he ended with, remember, there's nothing virtuous or patriotic about voting just for the sake of voting. And the next time someone tells you otherwise, do me a favor and ask them who they're voting for. Tell them you would be voting for their opponent, and then see if they'll give you a ride to the polls. Very, very good. That's great advice. Love this guy. Like Mike Rowe. He's really sound. I think he's conservative, but I don't know, and frankly, I don't even care. The guy's got a good head on his shoulders. He's funny as a crutch, and he's a great entertainer, very smart guy. So how about we take a break?
You're listening to the Common Constitution. Let the truth be known.
Okay, so welcome back, and you may have guessed I've been playing a lot more classical music lately. I've been into classical music lately, and I think it makes me, it seems a lot classier, and it makes me sound more intelligent. I am certainly not more intelligent, and maybe, and I don't sound more intelligent, but at least it sounds more intelligent. How's that? So if you are not a fan of classical music and you don't like it, then you may indeed lump it, because I happen to like it. At least I like the upbeat classics, just like I like country music, but I don't like those twangy, boring ballads. Frankly don't like any ballads at all. I like upbeat rock, I like upbeat jazz, and I even like blues, like B.B. King and whatnot, but it's not this twangy, single instrument nonsense. I like the horns and everything, and I like my music happy and upbeat for the most part, even if it is the blues. So, anywho, going on to our last topic. This was a classic. This is just great. Leave it to the Ruskies, man. This comes to us from the Daily Mail. Always got to have something from the Daily Mail. These guys are fabulous. So, as you may or may not know, back in 1947, there was a Red Army Russian soldier, Soviet soldier named Mikhail Kalashnikov, and he was in the hospital, if you could call it that, a Russian hospital, during war, a Soviet hospital during World War II. Oh boy, wouldn't have wanted to have been there. So he was recovering from injuries he received in battle, and he drew up a design for a new battle rifle. And it was, and the rest is history. It was the AK-47, the weapon of choice for Russian army for a lot of places. And it's, I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of the more fun guns to shoot. I'm going to digress just a little bit. It is not accurate. It's got a very distinct noise to it. And but it's a lot of fun, and it's a deadly weapon, and it will always work. You could run over it with a tank and pick it up and fire it. It is really durable. It's really inexpensive relative to the kind of stuff that we use, the AR platforms and things like that. But pound for pound, it is a wonderful rifle. Anywho, so Mikhail Kalashnikov invents this rifle, and the rest is history. Now it's used because it's so cheap and easily reproduced, and it's made out of stamped steel and whatnot, and it lasts and lasts and lasts and just shoots and shoots, and it delivers a very powerful round. It's a really good weapon, and unfortunately, it's because there's so many millions of them out there. Terrorists, rebel forces, whatever, can get their hands on them. They're everywhere, and it doesn't. Because of that, it has developed a rather inauspicious reputation. It's a really bad reputation for the Kalashnikov, for the AK-47. So what do the Russians do to celebrate the Kalashnikov rifle? They apparently have opened a Kalashnikov store in a Moscow airport. Now, these aren't real rifles, and they're model guns, and there's much more to the Kalashnikov line than just the AK-47, but that's what everybody knows as. So the Daily Mail reports that an airport may seem an odd choice of a venue for the store, which sells realistic model guns as well as hunting gear. So you sell hunting gear at the airport. Brilliant. Man, I gotta tell you, it used to be where else but America. Now it's where else but Russia. But the company says Kalashnikov is a famous Russian brand, and they expect tourists to snap up their souvenirs. Well, I'm sure that they do. Now, I've seen pictures of these things, and they look pretty realistic. They're not like the airsoft guns with the plastic, orange plastic tip on them to make them easy to spot and whatnot. These things look like the real deal, and I don't know what they're made of. If they are made of composites and steel and whatnot, they could be very easily remanufactured, retrofitted to fire actual armament, to fire actual ordnance, So I don't know how accurate these souvenirs are, but they also write that an airport official said that the shop, which also offers novelties, including pens, umbrellas, yes, you can get an AK-47 umbrella. I don't know if it looks like one, but I think it just says AK-47. You can get bags and hats, camouflage gear, and an I Love AK t-shirt. Egads. But an airport official was very sensitive to this, and he said that the guns on sale were clearly imitations and would pose no security problems. Now, if you were to walk into a convenience store toting an AK-47 replica, whether it would fire or not, I guarantee you, you're going to scare the crap out of some people. Particularly, like I said, I've seen pictures of these things, and they look real. There's no way to distinguish a real one from one of these souvenirs. And as long as they're not, as long as no one's requiring them to get into a firefight with one or into a gun battle with the coppers, this is not a smart idea. I got to tell you, sure you could have a shop, but why you put it in the airport? I mean, honestly, right next to the duty-free liquor, that's a good combination for you. So this guy Vladimir Dmitriev, he's a marketing head for Kalashnikov, said that Kalashnikov is one of the most popular brands that come to mind for most people in the world when they hear about Russia. What a great deal. That's the first thing you want to know when you hear about a country. Come to see our Kalashnikov souvenir store in the airport. There you go. He said that so we are pleased to provide the opportunity for everyone to take away from Russia a souvenir with our company brand. This is too, you can't make this stuff up. It's just too funny. And it's even funnier, frankly, because 51% of the Kalashnikov company is owned by the Russian government. So they have majority share and majority vote on anything that goes on. And so Putin would have had to give him his okay for the Kalashnikov store in the Moscow airport. So way to go, Pooty Poop. So I think this is great stuff. I love this stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I love it. So on that happy note, I think I will wrap it up. And I want to thank everybody for listening to my 100th podcast. That's a fabulous milestone, I guess. I don't know. I just keep doing it because I enjoy doing it. And I guess a few people like listening. So I want to thank you all for that. You all have a great balance of the weekend. And I will talk to you next week. And I am out.
Thank you for listening to the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast.